Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Sam.
And we're going to be board gaming. And today we're going to be taking a look at a game that we've had for years and just finally finished, and that is Charterstone.
Throwing it back.
Yes, Charterstone is designed by Jamie Segmeyer and published by Stonemaier Games. For this game, I'm not going to be doing a teach because it's a legacy game, so it would be kind of ruining it to show you all the different stuff that we unlock throughout the game. But the game is a pretty basic, very simple worker placement game, right? You have 3 workers, you put your workers out, you get resources. After you put your workers out, you recall them or rest, and you get them all back, and you keep going, and you're able to build new buildings, unlock certain things, go for different objectives, that kind of stuff. So that's what you're going to be doing in the game. Really simple. If you're familiar with other worker placement games like Stone Age, right? You put workers out, you're going to take those actions, that kind of thing. So we will try to avoid spoilers. At some point, I kind of would be like, nah, the game's been out forever, but we'll avoid spoilers for all intents and purposes. We'll do our best. So with that being said, that's pretty much how the game works. I'm not going to go into a full overview. It's literally place your worker, and at the end of the game, whoever scored the most points or achieved the guideposts, you'll be making decisions as to what's going to affect. Your board's going to change every single game, because with it being legacy, you're going to build new buildings, which are going to be new worker placement spots. You're going to be unlocking new components and things that are going to impact what you're doing and how you score points.
Yeah, so everybody's game is going to look different anyway.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter. Everybody's board will look different. We had got this game years ago.
We started dating.
Started it. Yeah, that's right. We started playing this when we
been
were
together
dating.
5 years.
Yeah. And so we've been married coming up on 4.
Yeah.
So, no, we've been together almost 6 years.
Well, almost 6. I'm saying 5 now.
Okay.
But I remember I bought this for you. I think it was like our first Christmas together.
Yeah, that might have been it. Yeah.
Because I was looking at Game Nerds, and like I was on there and I saw that this is one I purchased back in like 2019 or 2018, something like that. Yeah. And
we don't play a lot of legacy games. This is only the second legacy game other than Isla Nublar, which we hated.
Yeah.
So this is our second one that we've actually completed and everything. So it's not something that we get a lot. I'm trying to think. We have some like campaign games we play, but we've never done like a legacy.
Right.
Really. So, and yeah. So with that being said, I just want to kind of throw out those little things, caveats. This is obviously a much older game than we typically would be reviewing, but we did finish it this last month. And so we wanted to, because we were like, hey, we really want to finish it. Like, it was something we've been meaning to get back to doing and finishing, because otherwise it was just sitting on the shelf.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and talk about the game as much as possible. So first, let's talk about production of the game, right? Production of the game, I think, is really, really good, right? You get metal coins, you have these relatively realistic pieces of resources, these wooden bits. You're getting, and they're all wooden except for the coins that are, metal, but it's really, really well put together.
Right.
I like that the board is 2-sided, so if you do want to run through it a second time, all you have to do is go out and buy a recharge pack, and you can replace all the pieces that you used before. Graphic design, I thought, was really good, easy to understand. Art was very cartoony.
Yes.
Very welcoming, I thought. It
gave me like that Disney vibe.
Oh,
like
really?
the characters, like the art, just reminded me kind of like Disney. I don't know, but yeah, that's just. And it was, like I felt like all of the buildings were really cool. Like, they were all different and just like, I don't know, just really cool.
Yeah. And as you start off, like, your own little region or charter, right? Because you just have to start your own charter or building. You kind of focus in on one resource. So, like, pumpkins or coal or brick or wood or whatever. And as you're playing, you each have some unique things that like you're like eventually what will happen is you're not going to be able to you don't get to keep all of your cards all the time. And so other people are going to eventually have access to being able to get those buildings and get these crates that you're going to be able to open and unlock stuff. And it's going to introduce some new mechanics. But I really like I'm trying not to think about production of it. The way the stickers come off are pretty easy. The only thing with that is like if you take a building off but there's still like a crate and you have to like shuffle and get the advancement deck ready, is sometimes those stickers get caught and it can get pulled off and it can make shuffling kind of a little bit difficult there. So that's a bit of a pain. And just FYI, we played through this at 2-player.
Yes.
So that'll affect our scores a little bit, I think, especially when we talk about preferences. So let's talk about preparation for the game. So setup, tear down, difficulty to teach. It was a little weird because when we first sat down to play it, because there's like, we had essentially 2 experiences. When we first sat down to play it, and then this last month when we played it the last 8 times or whatever, and we had to kind of relearn like what we had unlocked so far and whatnot. And so setup and teardown's not too bad. After going back through it again, I was like, okay, teaching isn't too bad. I remember when we first did it, the teach was super simple, right? Because you just when we first played it, I was like, this is super, super simple. Like,
oh, well, and I was thankful for that too, because I was like coming in as like a newbie board game player and not having a lot of experience with worker placement games, or really any games for that matter that weren't like, you know, your normal games you grow up with or whatever. But or Cards Against Humanity. But anyway, yeah, so I thought like, oh, this is like super easy. Like I can easily understand it. I mean, yeah, like I felt like it was very easy to learn for me. Thinking of back then, what that was like.
And I still think that I love that it starts off and it's super simple. So if you're somebody who's getting into worker placement or getting into legacy games, I think that this is the perfect way to get into a legacy game or get into worker placement and you want to learn it. I think this is a great starting point. If I were to recommend a legacy game for anyone to start off with, this would be the one, just because I think it's great for beginning players, somebody that's just getting into the hobby and want to experience that. And it kind of unravels a little bit at a time. And so with that, I think the setup and teardown is really quick because there's not a whole lot to it. There's a couple, as you're unlocking things, you're going to be shuffling some different cards and whatnot together. But that's pretty much it when it comes to setup. You put the board out, you put the starting tokens wherever, and you shuffle a few decks, and that's it. Nothing too crazy, especially starting off, and each round has its own little added twist and whatnot to it.
Yeah, and then you have to like do your stuff at the end.
Right. So it's not too bad when it comes to that and whatnot. But yeah, so that's the preparation, setup, and tearing out. Now, what did you think about? We kind of talked about it. Mechanics wise, very simple. It's worker placement. Simple worker placement as you're putting it out there.
Yeah.
What do you think about like? I get that it's not a fantasy world, but it is obviously this. The story is that you were building this new village for this king, right? And so, and he has different requests and demands and whatnot as you're going through. And there's a story behind it as you're unraveling. Different things are happening and occurring, and also depending on what decisions you've made, it'll affect that story. So what did you think about the theme and everything that came with that?
I liked the theme. I liked that it was kind of like this fantasy, like cartoony type of world, and I felt like the story was lacking some stuff. I won't talk about the story, but I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I wanted more from.
Right. It was pretty light story, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I kind of wanted, you feel like you're invested, right? Like you play it so many times, you feel like you're invested and you're like, give me more. And then you're like, oh, okay.
Right.
But like, I mean, but I think overall, like I thought it was very cool being able to build out your own like world and your own little like your little charters, and I thought that was for me one of the most exciting parts of the gameplay was opening up the little chests,
the crates,
and to find out what you get. Like that was the exciting part for me, was like, oh, what buildings am I gonna get? Like which personas am I gonna get? Like that was for me the most exciting part.
Well, and then when you unlock something that unlocks a whole new thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? Like,
right.
I want to unlock something like that.
Yeah.
I remember like when the first couple games you unlocked something and I was like, why don't I get to unlock something that cool?
Yeah. So, I mean, I liked that part. It was like a surprise, But yeah, I think I just wanted more like from the story part.
Yeah. I did appreciate that the story wasn't like a chapter long of like information. Yeah. Like, some of these big games could have like a very elaborate fantasy
yeah, where you can't
thing.
Even follow it because
so
you're
as a beginner, as I look at it from that perspective, that's the way I kind of look at this legacy game. I think it was perfect amount for what it was. I think now that I had completed it and I looked at other fantasy like legacy games, I would want a little bit more, because this obviously gives me more eventually by the end. Like I'm like, oh wow, okay, there's a lot to consider, because when you get towards the end, there's a lot more going on how you can score points and different things that you can do, and instead of just building buildings and opening crates, right? Like at the beginning, that's what you're doing. Building buildings, opening crates, your reputation track, and, that kind of stuff. So there's not a whole lot there. At the beginning, you're all kind of doing the same thing. But as more and more gets added in, now it's like, oh, well, I don't have to just build buildings. I can do all this other stuff, right? And so I like that. I didn't feel like there was a lot of downtime. Like, I mean, you're like, boom, okay, I get this, I'm done.
It was very fast turns.
Yeah.
I mean, literally going like back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. Not really a whole lot of luck. There's definitely a good amount of strategy here.
Right,
So with that, and then, I mean, sometimes there's no direction. Like, you want to just go, what direction do I go to unlock something cool? And sometimes you're just kind of fumbling around and be like, well, I'll open this crate. Oh, it's nothing cool. Okay, I'll open this one. Hopefully this will lead to something. And so, like, there can be a little luck of where, oh, you unlock something really cool just by happenstance, and then I have to wait a little while before I get my thing. But eventually it will all get unlocked. It just depends at what point in the game. So I thought that. Not a ton of downtime. Everything was pretty interesting. So, going into the final segment of our return on investment, I can't tell you what we paid for it. And not that it really matters, but I think it exceeded what I was like. As a legacy game, I don't get excited about legacy games too much right now, just because it's, especially if you're playing with a group, it's hard to keep getting the same group together over and over and over again, or it's going to be, it's not something you're going to be able to do every week necessarily. It might take you a year or two. So if you're looking at it cost-wise, yes, this is 12 games if I remember right. 12 games out of it, and over that time you're definitely going to get your money back if you're looking at it from a price point area. Initially, I was like, oh wow, this game is super simple. I was worried that it wasn't going to give me a big punch for like where I'm at in my gaming journey right now. And so, but now, having just finished it, and be like, wow, okay, it does give me quite a bit, and it does open a lot of new avenues, because at the beginning I could feel myself being very bored. I remember that was probably a big reason why we didn't come back to it a lot, is because we played those first 4 games and I was like, there's not really a whole lot going on.
And I was like,
really
yay!
Slow. And so, but once there is a point where you're like, okay, there's
Yeah.
quite a bit now happening, which is good. So I did like that. So it did exceed my expectations with that. However, I would. Now, I'm not going to buy. We've already had this discussion. We're not going to buy the recharge pack. If I were, I wouldn't want to play through the whole campaign again. I would just buy the recharge pack and open all the stuff that I want to build out my own board. That way I would come back and play it. But even then, I don't know how much I would come back to play it.
Right.
I think it was a great experience. If I were to play through this, because we had the other charters are involved, but you're just kind of adding stuff each round to their stuff because they're not active. I would want it to be with at least 4, I think. I know you can play it up to 6, but I think you'd want to play with at least 4 players just because it's going to have a lot more interaction based on where you put your workers and whatnot. And with replayability, I would think that you could definitely do different strategies. So even as you're going through the legacy, once stuff gets unlocked, there's definitely a variety of different strategies that you can use in order to make it feel different every single time. There's quite a few different avenues to victory that you can just kind of maybe exploit a really good strategy and kind of go all in on that. So with that, I'll give my score. I think this is a solid 7.5. I think this is a great legacy game, especially if you're new to gaming or if you want something that is a legacy game that's not super heavy. And if you're new to wanting to get into worker placement, I think this is really good. And it's great for even like a family weight game, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm actually going to give it a 7.5 as well.
Oh, okay. Okay. Did you have anything to add?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
No.
All right. Well, then, I guess I talked for both of us there.
Yeah, you
but anyway,
did.
So yeah, long and overdue review for Charterstone, but something I really, really think is great, and I'm glad that it's out there in the hobby. If you are a new gamer, if you're looking to get involved in a legacy game, but you don't really know, you don't want to bite off more than you could chew, I would say Charterstone is a great one to give a go. See how you feel about it, and then if it's something that you're really into, then I think you can move on to the Pandemics and the Clanks and those different legacy style games that could be the next step up. I think this is a great beginner.
Well, and I think it kind of gives you like an idea too. Like, do you want to make the commitment of going through it?
Right.
Because this is 12 games, so I think if you get through,
which is a good amount of
like
games. Yeah. So so that's a thought on that. But that's going to do it for Charterstone. 7.5 from both of us. Please like, comment, subscribe, and let us know what you think of the game. Now that it's been, I don't know how many years since it came out,
sure
let us know. Do you still have it, or did you get rid of it a long time ago, or never even try it? Let us know, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Bye.